Welcome to our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
What is your path to Dharma?
Welcome, Shannon and Shay here. We've been studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, learning so much wisdom for our lives. It's been amazing. The incarnations of Sri Krishna have been coming up over and over as we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm really excited to talk about it today.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare
I'm
Krishna.
so ready to get into the Srimad Bhagavatam. So ready. We ended on chapter 5. Yes, we finished chapter 5 last time. And
it's our plan today to go through, we're on Canto One, chapter 6. We're going to go
Yes.
through the entire chapter 6 today. And before we get going, we have a couple things we want to talk about real quickly. Thank you so much for everyone who has tuned into our Krishna fan club. We're doing that once a month, first Saturday of the month. We're going to really commit to doing it at a certain time. We're trying to go for 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thanks so much for everyone who's gone back and watched those. And we invite you to that coming up. We are also planning a couple bonus videos. We've been reading so much. The Srimad Bhagavatam. We've been reading the Bhagavad Gita. I started reading the Puranas. Wow, there is so much wisdom and learning and everything. And it's hard not to sort of start to break out the different things to talk about. But tonight, again, we're going to the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're in chapter 6. Before we did that, though, you have some obeisances you want to do, but I want to start with a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita because I think there's no way better to start talking about all of this than to feast on the words of our beloved Sri Krishna. So I'm going to read a little bit out of chapter 4. This is chapter 4, verse 5 through 8. For me have passed many births, and for thee, Arjuna, these I know all. Thou knowest not, scorcher of the foe, though unborn, though myself is eternal, though Lord of beings, resorting to my own material nature, I come into being by my own mysterious power. For whenever the right a languishing appears, son of Brata, a rising up of unright, then I send myself forth for the protection of the good and for destruction of evildoers, and to make a firm footing for the right, I come into being age after age. So nice. So nice. So let's set the scene a little bit. Where are we at in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes, chapter 6, but what is...
Well, before we begin, before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay.
Beautiful.
On to chapter 6. So, if I'm not mistaken, let's see.
We are in the middle of a conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva, which I just want to talk about so many of the different names of Krishna, all of his different incarnations. Vyasadeva, Vyasa, there's a lot of those. And I admit to getting them a little bit confused here and again.
Yes. This is why we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Because we want to be able to eventually have all the differentiations. And honestly, it's so very helpful for our viewers to comment and to let us know every time I read something that's truth. It just kind of defines it a little bit better for me. So thank you to everybody who has been commenting to help us really understand this. It's so appreciated. Because we are studying this wisdom so that we can know it. So of course we're not going to get everything right on the first go. To practice.
And usually we're reading it real time. I admit to having pre-read chapter 6 Um,
Which I've read up to chapter 6 as well. I've read chapter 6, but it's been a couple of weeks since I read it.
okay.
So I'm sure it's gonna feel fresh for me.
But also, if you're just joining us or you haven't seen us, essentially, we're going through the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're not reading the purport, we're absorbing it ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
really taking it in, thinking about what does it mean for us. And we invite you to join us in that quest of understanding because the Srimad Bhagavatam has so much wisdom. And we've been counseled by many people in the comment to just listen to it and see what it's saying and just sit
Mm-hmm.
with it. So that's part of our process is just doing it kind of live where we are kind of putting ourselves out here a little bit. So we appreciate all the lovely, kind comments we've had. This is for all of us, though, I guess is my point. We're
Yeah.
doing this for us personally, but also I just want to put that vibration out in the universe because it's so wonderful.
Mm. Yes,
So
yes.
this is all sent out to Krishna. This is our way of offering devotion to him as well. So,
Mm.
Hare
Hare,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay,
Okay.
so Sri Narada has just advised Vyasadeva to write about the glories of the great Lord Sri Krishna. So he
Yes.
told a little bit about his own life, what led him to where he was, and then also kind of is empowering Vyasudeva to continue writing about the glories and the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, past that of the Mahabharata, which he has already written. Is that correct?
I believe so. That
Okay.
sounds right. So where we're at now, Vyasadeva is having this conversation with Narada, and he's asking him further, tell me more,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So this is all the things that have happened up to this point. Tell me more about your life. How did you get here? So let's just start in text one.
Yep. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasudeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Text 2. Sri Vyasudeva said, what did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific, transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
Keep
Do you,
going because it actually keeps going. So keep going
oh,
in.
son of, okay, yep. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course? O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? Do you want to answer?
Yeah, Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. I went up to text 8. No, I went up to
Mm-hmm.
text 7 there. So
Yeah.
can we just reflect a little bit about what we're hearing here? So I want to go back to this line about she bound me with the tie of affection.
Yeah.
And
What
well, I
does it?
remember. Okay, so I guess yeah, what does that mean? If we go back into the story a little bit, we learn of how he is the son of this maidservant who is offering service to these sages. And
Mm-hmm.
he spends his life serving these sages, and they impart their wisdom on him. They see that he's special. It almost is like they take pity on him. That's maybe not the right word, but it's seems like the inference from what we were reading last time was Normally, that's not who they're not usually imparting that wisdom to random small children, but
Right.
for whatever reason, they did to him and he picks it up. So he has all this knowledge and he's sitting with it. And that's what he's talking about. He had to pass his life that way. So these sages left. And now here he is with his mother, the maidservant, and she's bound him with the tie of affection, which he knows about from the sages, about the strands of material nature. He knows all about how he's supposed to detach and be
Right.
dispassionate because that's what he's been told. And so he sees how his mother's affection for him,
Mm.
like, basically binds him to the earth, it binds him to the
Mm.
material nature. And so what happens next is really interesting. Would you pick it up in text 8?
When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent, influenced by supreme time. I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees, and so thinking, I started for the north.
I was like, "Wait, hold up. He's 5 when this happens?" And
Of 5.
his mother gets bit by a snake and dies. He
And so
took
he
wait. He took this as a special mercy of the Lord. I just wanna let that sink into my brain right now. And he started thinking, "I'm just going north." Wow. Wow, right? Um,
I'm stricken. I feel stricken. And I mean, it suggests that even before he was 5, he knew that his mother was tying him with this bind of affection.
right. And actually, like, it was a blessing, it was a special
Oh,
mercy to take her out, at such a young age, because he
mm,
explains how she couldn't care for him. She couldn't properly take care of him. But because of that bond of affection, she loved him so much. He loved her back so much, likely.
mm.
It wouldn't have allowed him to become what he was supposed to be, but also her life was difficult. So it's like she did what she needed to do, which was to give birth to him and in the time and place in which he was supposed to be born. And
So that he could be imparted this scientific
right,
knowledge from the sages.
right. And it's as if her job was done. So instead of them both suffering, him eventually separating from her or him not following this path of the sages that he knows he wants to go down because he has to stay with her or care for her, the Lord takes her out.
Wow, I mean, this just,
Yeah,
like, change this is, like, so just different from the Western thought of what death is, and how to feel about death and all of it, right? It's kind
so
of
different, so different. I mean,
it's really quite beautiful, honestly, it really is.
one of the things I'm learning about the multiple incarnations of Krishna and all the gods and goddesses is this story of exactly that, just this wheel of time. These
Yeah.
these karmic situations that happen over and over and over so that death, as Krishna said in the right there, as I started with, like, I've taken birth many times.
Mhm.
Many times, whenever the right, a languishing it appears, a rising up of unright, then I send myself forth with protection of the good for a destruction of the
Mm,
evildoers. So this is happening over and over, and these cycles of time are known and understood, and were
right,
understood by the sages. So this small boy, this is what he learned. So when he sees this happen, obviously he's not a normal um just one of us randos down here
right.
because
Right.
his reaction to this is, like, "Thank you, Lord. I guess I'm going north. Let's see what
And,
happens
like well,
next."
and just, like, how can we all embody that in our own lives for so many situations that don't have to be death, but just
Yeah.
everything, everything.
It's true. It's true. And grief is real. And we are here in the illusion. We're meant to be here. We're meant to
Mhm.
live human lives and to experience all of those emotional things to include grief. But Narada was not here for that.
Right.
That's not why he came. I'm going to go on in text 11. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. On to text 12, I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Ah, man, this is a 5-year-old. I'm just like, wow. I'm stunned by
Well,
this story. By the way, still.
and just the analogy for everything that he's
Ugh,
saying. You
yes, yes,
know,
yes, 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 yes,
we could
yes.
talk about that for a while. We don't need to go into it because it's pretty clear, but
Yeah, and like
y
the youngness of our soul in the sense of like we are
mm,
children. We
yeah.
do exactly that. Ah, I love this. Go on to text 14, Shay.
Thus traveling, I felt tired, both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river lake and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the supersoul situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from liberated souls. He's 5. Let's just remember that.
Yeah, he's 5 and he says, "I'm going to sit here and meditate."
As
And
soon as
then
I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. O
wow.
Vyasadeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. And
Wow.
remember, it's just like when you remember that ecstasy, you can't forget it.
Yeah, let's like I almost want to read that again because it's so good. And as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, well, he's probably not 5 by the time he does this because
I, yeah,
we're meant
he's
to see
going
that
through a
he's
journey.
traveled. Okay,
Yeah.
he's journey, but here he is finally. He's meditating. And as soon as he begins to meditate, he basically sees
Mm.
Krishna. Krishna appears on the lotus of his heart, and every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. Basically, he was overcome, totally like blinded, it seems like. Let's go to text 18.
It's just like I could just imagine after this long journey, and then finally you're sitting in this uninhabited forest under a banyan tree. I can imagine that wave of emotions. I feel like I have felt something very similar. Okay,
Yeah,
text 18. The transcendental form of the Lord, as it is, satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed, as if usual when one loses that which is desirable.
right. So he loses the vision. He has
Mhm.
it. He's feeling completely blissful, and then the vision is gone.
Mhm.
So, in text 19, I desired to see that transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore. And thus, dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved.
Mm.
Yeah. That's like when you're in the beautiful dream that you wake up from and you try to go back to it, you can't get back in. It's like, I had that beautiful moment of ecstasy. So,
Mhm.
in text 20, seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words, just to mitigate my grief. And what does
So
he say?
now we hear from Lord Sri Krishna.
Yes.
O Narada, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me.
Whoa. Okay. Let's read that again. That last line.
Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me.
Yeah, that sounds right. That feels right. And it to me, it feels like what he's talking about when you're not free from the material taints. It's like um uh all of your attachments.
Mm.
The more attachments you have, the harder it is to reach the divine.
Oh, goodness. To be human and to be like programmed in such a way, and then to find this later, like not as a 5-year-old kid,
Yeah.
it feels it feels overwhelming a bit, honestly. Doesn't it? Like I have a lot of undoing to that needs to occur before I can get to a state of this.
Yeah. For sure. I had a crazy dream last night where essentially I was picked up by this being and put into a chariot. And I said to him, "Where are we going?" And his response was, "We're going to hell." And all I remember is, again, this feeling of like diving deep into darkness. I don't remember at all what happened next. I was not allowed to remember that, which I probably don't want to remember. But
Mm,
the next part I remember is being dropped onto my bed, maybe like a foot above the air, dropped onto my bed to the point where I hit and I fell off onto the floor. And my bed is kind of high up in the air. And I fell onto the floor and I said, that was rude. And I went to get it back in my bed and he scooped me up and he brought me there. And I went there 3 times. Um, what I remember from it, just those 2 scenes, but this feeling afterwards was about karma, and the message I was getting was
mm,
essentially every single thing you do results in your experience of the afterlife, of hell. It's created by you, literally, while you're here on earth. Every thought, every word you're speaking, every emotion you have creates the afterlife, hence
mm,
creates your own hell. Like you are literally making it yourself. And so I went there 3 times. Basically, what happened was I was reading a bunch of, I was reading the Puranas, and, I said, as I was falling asleep, "What was my prior life like that brought me to
mm,
this life?" And then I had that crazy dream, and there's my answer. Like, everything that has happened in my prior lives is connected to everything that's happening now. And everything that I'm being presented with, every opportunity, every barrier, every block I have, every curse that I have suffered, every betrayal, all of that can be traced back to my prior lifetimes. And the karma that I've created comes with me in every single
mhm,
incarnation. This is what I'm learning from Krishna because I found out why Krishna came back as a cowherder. And it's due to this incident where he actually stole the sacred divine cow and wouldn't give it back. And part of his penance was when he did come to earth to balance that that's what he came to earth as because he was cursed by the owner of the cow. And even the goddess, even um, the great mother, the divine mother, is subject to the laws of karma. And even Krishna is subject to the laws of karma. So that's what I was basically left with the message of. Whatever happened down there, I actually don't need to see. That's fine. I'm grateful that I
mhm.
don't remember. But it's this. This is what he's talking about. So until we can get to the point of really getting that. And of course, I can say it, but I guarantee I will be reflecting on that dream for months.
Right, right.
Um, that's how we free ourselves, is just to become, I think, more aware, more aware, more aware
You
of where
know,
we're at.
I'm reminded of this story that I believe is from the Yoga Sutras, of this idea that a great sage, some type of incarnation of Krishna, right, is walking through a forest and comes upon a man who's meditating, and he says, "I'm going to the land of the gods. Do you have any questions? I'll come back with the answer." And he says, "Yes. How much longer do I need to be here? How much longer will I be incarnated on Earth?" Says, "Okay, great, I'll ask and I'll let you know." He continues on. He finds the man dancing in the forest, and the man dancing in the forest gets the same question. "Hey, is there anything you want to know? I'm going to wherever land of the gods, and I'll be back with your answer." And he says, "Yes. How much longer will I be here for?" And he says, "Okay, great, I'll come back." And some time passes. I'm not exactly sure of the exact details, but he comes back, the great sage, this incarnation, and he finds the man meditating in the forest, and he says something to effect of, "You're going to be here for a very long time, however much." And he becomes upset. "I've been spending this lifetime meditating. It's gotten me nowhere. I thought that I would, blah blah blah." Great sage continues on, meets the man dancing in the forest again, and he says, I've received your answer. You'll be here for as long as many leaves are on that tree." And this man dances in joy and knows that it will come to an end. Like, eventually it will come to an end, and how grateful he is that he only has that much more left. And by the way, it was like a significant more time than the person who was meditating under the
Right.
tree. And
Yeah.
so I'm just reminded that, like, time really is an illusion, and that it's not, this is like a reminder for myself, like, not to be caught up in the programming that this body, like, I'm moving through karma. I've chosen this body
Yes.
to move through it, and it's exactly where
Yes.
I'm supposed to be. Um,
Yes.
and however long it takes me to merge with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is as exactly as long as I need. And I'm going to be just a-okay with that, and fix my mind on Lord Sri Krishna as much as I can, and forgive myself in the process.
Absolutely. So I've been reading the Bhagavat Purana. Am I even saying that right?
I think so.
I just wanted to clarify which one, because there's more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on that note, I read this story about how Krishna actually stood on one leg for 1,000 years, as he was trying to basically do penance and appeal to the goddess. And then, after he stood on one leg for 1,000 years, he stood on the end of his big toe for another 1,000 years. So I feel like, okay, like, yeah, I can wait. I can be patient. And there's no promise of anything in this lifetime. So all I can do is accept that this life that I've made, this heaven or hell in which I inhabit, is
Mm-hmm.
of my making. So I
Mm-hmm.
can only be upset at myself if there's
Right.
something I don't like.
Mm-hmm. All
Okay,
right, shall we continue?
let's. Where are we?
Text 22. O virtuous one, you have only seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires.
Yeah,
Again, it's just like, yes.
right.
By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds.
I love that. His associate. We're like his agent.
Mhm. Yeah.
His agent. We're like
And
his secret
that's
agent.
how I feel. That's how I feel with the podcast, with the um official Krishna fan club. Like, that's how I really feel, like this agent, this associate of Krishna, like sending out Krishna consciousness to whoever we are attracting. It's quite special.
Right in the middle of random America, where
Mhm.
we really can't even find a temple or anywhere to go or anyone else to talk to about this, really. We're going to, but we have
Yes,
to
we will.
travel. We have to travel for that. Okay, let's go to text 24. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation, as well as the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. I love it. I love it. Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and by unseen eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances to him, bowing my head. That was text 25. Wow. So Krishna appears, he disappears. Narada does more praying and hears the voice of Krishna telling him, I've shown you myself so that you'll want to see me more, to increase your desire. It's almost like get a tiny little taste and you're like, oh, it's enough for a whole lifetime. And Narada's satisfied. Basically, we're going to hear, I think he says that, or did he already say that? He's about to say that, basically. Let's go to
Text 26.
text 26.
Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humbled, and unenvious.
I love it. So that's it. He was the agent on earth, just spreading this vibration of bliss, essentially. And he's unbothered, fully satisfied. Who wants to be able to say you are fully satisfied in life? Raise your hand. Me, please, because that sounds really good.
And like,
Yeah.
what's just so special about reading this, I feel, is that like having had heard this story, like I can tap into that and remember that for myself. You know, if everything is a reflection of us, then isn't this beautiful book, the Word of God, a reflection of us as well? And isn't Sri Narada, you know? And so I feel like I can tap into that energy and just remember that in times that feel not so great, you know, and just remember that I can choose to meditate on the upon the lotus feet and to tap into that transcendental feeling.
And I believe this is why the Srimad Bhagavatam was given to the earth for that exact purpose.
Right.
So that we can do that. Beautiful. Let's go to text 27. We're getting there because remember we're gonna do this whole chapter. So
yes.
Text 27.
Oh, so and so, O Brahmana Vyasadeva, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in the thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death, as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously.
Nice. Okay, so then he dies. That's his whole life story. He grows up with these sages. Mother leaves the earth at age 5. He walks into the wilderness and spends his life after having this vision of Krishna, just spreading Krishna name and fame across the earth. Pretty nice. Okay, so this is what we're back to his story. He's talking to Vyasadeva and he says, that's what happened. And then I died. So there we are in text 28. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work. Karma stopped. Fruitive. Am I saying that right?
Fruitive, yeah.
I am. That does not want to come out. Let me just say that whole sentence again. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work or karma have stopped. Okay. All right. I get it. I, for some reason, was just like struggling to put that whole sentence into one complete thought.
So is he's not dead though. He's just like stepping into a new body? Or no, he died
quit
and
the body. Yeah, he quit the body. And basically he got off the wheel of karma, it seems like, because he wrapped up his karma. He must have from previous lifetimes, and he spent his whole life satisfied, happily, like roaming around talking about Krishna. So he no longer had to do any more lifetimes, it sounds like. But no, wait a second, because we're talking to him now.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm just a bit confused about that. Like, did he quit the material? Like to me, it's like, did he quit the material body and he stepped into his transcendental body? Like he's saying he no longer was being affected by the
Right.
five material elements, and instead he stepped into like this
Yeah. He got his,
version of sage.
I think so. I think that's what it is. He gets his transcendental body. Uh,
I think that's right.
yeah. Okay, so in text 29, at the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Naranya, lay down with the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements. And I also entered through his breathing. Okay, unpack that for me, Shay.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Let's read it again. At the
Yeah.
end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. I almost feel like we should continue on and it might tell us.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay.
After, is that 4 million?
I think it's 4 billion, 300 million.
Yes. 4,300,000,000 solar years when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord. All the rishis, like Marishi, Angira, Atri, and so on, were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them.
Okay.
Okay, so I think he actually probably did die before,
Yeah.
right? And then he entered, and then at the end of that millennium, so karma stopped for him. He
Yeah.
entered into the transcendental, which, yes, I think meaning he like went into the higher realms.
Yes.
Right? And at the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. After 4,300,000,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord, all the rishis, like Marishi, Angira, Atri, and so on, were created from the transcendental
Okay.
body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them. Since
Okay.
then, do you want to stop or should I
No, keep
continue?
going. Keep going.
Since then, by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. Okay, the story is seeming to come together. He is beyond this world, and so he's just able
Right.
to travel back and forth. As we know,
Yes.
the super soul is eternal anyhow, and so it seems like
Yes.
he left his body,
Yep.
became transcendental in the transcendental realms. Brahma awoke to create again,
Yep.
breathed into existence
Yes.
him along with a bunch of other rishis, these seers who know um, the devotion to Lord Sri Krishna,
Yes.
and then thus allowing them to travel without restriction to both transcendental and material realms.
And in text 32, he says, and thus I travel, constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a vinya,
Mm-hmm.
which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. Okay, so he's going around with a instrument that has a certain vibration, literally a vibration that he is using to sing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord. So he has like he
Yes.
has a magical like wand, like a magical staff, like right?
Okay, and this is Narada, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's this beautiful picture that I was literally just looking at before we got on, and it says Narada Muni, a liberated spaceman, travels through the material and spiritual world, singing the glories of the Lord and delivering the fallen souls. And this is the picture.
Okay. Okay.
And so it feels like one of either the instrument or he also has another instrumenty looking thing in his other hand may be the
Yeah.
what did they call it?
Vinya?
Vina. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Interesting that it calls him a spaceman.
Right?
Very interesting.
Which makes sense, right? If he's moving through time and space,
Yeah, he can go in all
moving
the dimensions,
between.
between the
Mm-hmm.
dimensions. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that
The-
was given to him by Lord Krishna.
right.
Yeah.
And he goes on in text 33. Read that part.
The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart, as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so all he must do, I mean, he has a spiritual um, gift from Krishna of this instrument that he's using, and he chants his name and he appears in the seat of his heart.
I think that that's a really good advice for us who want to have him appear on the seat of our heart is
Mm,
to chant his holy activities.
yes.
There's our answer.
Mm-hmm.
Chant his holy activities. Go on to text 34.
It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. The constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's very interesting? Before we began recording, I was telling you that I had a moment of panic today as I was looking for, well, I lost a tax form, okay? And I was panicking and it put me in a really strange mood. And instantly, what has been coming to me more often, I think this is through the practice of meditating on Lord Sri Krishna, is I thought about him and I knew in that moment that I could have chosen that, but instead I bypassed it and continued with the anxiety. And
Mm,
it's just like a remembrance that this is a practice. I say that a lot, but it's true. But also that I can break that mood or those feelings with that. And perhaps I'll choose that next time.
excuse me.
After reading this and knowing that I can I can choose that.
Yeah, that we do choose. Again, we choose our entire existences.
Mhm.
So let's go on to text 35. It is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul, for this satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the personality of Godhead.
Mm.
So we're using yoga to control the senses.
Mhm.
And that allows you then, once you have controlled the senses, once you have detached from the strands of material nature, then you're able then to fully be able to um, connect with the divine through the
Right.
vibration of singing and chanting and devotional
Mhm.
service. Mhm.
Mhm. I love it. Okay. Text 36. O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization, as you asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also.
Nice, which I bet it was. Text 30,
Right?
right, text 37. Way back to Sutta Goswami now, because remember, Sutta Goswami is the one that is describing this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Sutta Goswami in text 37, Srimad Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his Veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will.
Yeah.
So there he went.
I love Narada.
He floated off.
He's in such a mood. He is such a mood.
Amazing. Wait, one more. All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead. And so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. Okay, you now read that one more time without.
All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni, because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead, In so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe.
Hare Krishna. He's doing it
And
right
thus,
now. He's helping me right now, right this moment.
yes, and thus ends
Wow.
Canto One, Chapter 6, Conversation between Narada and Vyasudeva. So thank you so much, Narada, for coming in, telling your story.
Yeah, that
This is
was
all so connected.
very,
I love
very
it so
satisfying.
much.
Very satisfying to hear. So it's as if we're setting up. It's like Sutta Goswami is setting the scene. Just this is
Yes.
everything I know about where this knowledge came from. This is who we're
Mhm.
speaking to. This is where it's coming from.
Mhm.
And he's still sitting there about to tell all the sages all of that, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And
Which
what's just so interesting, like sannyas, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's listening, or even if you know, sannyas is this time in a person's life when they detach from material world and they like enter the forest. Often at times it's like done during like retirement
okay.
for a person. And Narada just decides to do that at age 5. Well, doesn't decide, it's like bestowed upon him, right?
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of crazy that he just like becomes this enlightened soul at such a young age and then becomes this transcendental spaceman. I can just like feel him and see him just like moving about with this magical instrument, just really singing the devotions of, and that's what he just did to Vyasudeva. He came in and he just like sang, played his little magical instrument, and then just like moves on to the next distressed soul. That's so beautiful. And it's also really like, what's the word? Not satisfying, but it's endearing to know that
Yeah.
Krishna has these agents who he's just sending out on his behalf, just like bestowing Krishna consciousness and beautiful wisdom onto these distressed souls. Like he's not leaving us alone,
Yeah.
like out in this world, right? He's like leaving us all these little nuggets and Easter eggs that we're able to use so that we can um eventually get to the point where we can give devotional service unto him. And by giving devotional service unto him is by giving it to all of his reflections, everything that he's created. He has created everything.
Right.
So that's really cool. I'm really happy to know um Sri Narada's story. I really am.
Yeah, likewise. Very satisfying to hear. So, okay, that wraps up chapter 6. Thank you so much for being with us here as we continue to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are learning, as we said at the beginning, so much that we are bringing into our life. So,
Yes.
um, let's hear from you in the comments. What are you learning? What do you know is true because of what you've heard? So, again, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your likes. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. It's a pleasure to interact with everyone.
Yes, and stay tuned for our next episode. We will see you then. In the meantime, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.